Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to be here in front of you to say a few words. I thank Sudeep for such a wonderful introduction. So I don't think I need to say anything more, but I do want to tell you my passion about science and scientists and what they do for society, for human evolution. And so I am delighted to be allowed to speak a few words. Now, I'm a practicing scientist, and I know what motivates me and what motivates most of the scientists like Lotte. And we do it like almost instinctively, because how do you explain love? Something that everybody experience, but love for the family, love for the humanity and the society, really inexplicable, but we all know what it means. And so the scientists do, because of innate push from inside, no matter what other things may come up. And in fact, as Sudeep mentioned, that I started the Institute of Theoretical Physics at UCLA, and the talents that really the postdoc and the students and professors have is extraordinary. They could be successful in anything, actually, and especially if they wanted to be rich, they could go on to stock market and use their theory, just like Jim Simon has proved that. He was a mathematician and got into investments, and lo and behold, made 12 billions or more. And so he's now supporting a lot of foundations, and especially in science. And but then, after all of that accomplishment, he went back to Stony Brook, where he came from, to the mathematics department, because he still has that burning desire to do something in science. So what I was getting at is that no matter whether recognized or not, scientists will do their research out of the inner push, so to speak. And I can testify to that as a scientist myself. And I think Lotte would agree with that. But at the same time, we all human beings are of each other, really. And when we get recognized for our contribution to science and to humanity, it's again another thrill and joy that's hard to express. But it is undoubtedly there. So having started the Science Communication Prize, I was having dinner with Sudeep and Holden for the, I think, 2022 AAAS meeting in Seattle. And one of the things I asked them, that you have this breakthrough of the year's program going on for quite a while, and it's very laudable. But then you don't recognize the people who has done it, who is people behind it, because people make it happen. So I propose that why don't you talk about a foundation or endowment, and that would recognize the people who has done this wonderful breakthrough that is good for humanity. And to my big surprise, both Holden and Sudeep really almost impressed me for that and my idea, because up to that time, the prizes that AAAS was giving are way in today's with inflation-laden society, in fact, it used to be $5,000 for the Science Engagement Award. And I tried to get it to 20, but we settled somewhere around 10. And but here, so they came up with the idea, let's make it a big one. And I was surprised, because that was just totally unexpected. And I said, count me in. And then came the pandemic, so everything kind of was at a standstill. So when the pandemic ended, we started talking about it, and last year we had the first Breakthrough Year Award on JWST, James Webb Space Telescope. But as you know, big science these days require a lot of people to work together, and there was about almost 10,000 scientists or more involved in JWST. So how do you recognize 2 or 3 people out of that? That's a pretty hard job, and Holden came through very well and had some help with the committee. And that was really went very successfully last year. And and I didn't expect that this year it would be even popular. In fact, there was a press conference this morning, and 60 press organizations, including 60 Minutes, showed up because Ozempic is such a popular, has been a popular drug. And now they've come up with the type 2 diabetes drug, which is just approved, and eventually, I guess, they'll not just indirect injection, but I guess you'll find some tablets and pills that people can take eventually. Like Holden wrote the editorial about this breakthrough of this year, and he said that it's a good breakthrough, but it raises as many questions as it said, as it gives us answer, and that's what a breakthrough is. It opens up a whole field, and so we're expecting it will bring a lot of help to the people who diabetes too has become such a worldwide problem, and not necessarily people who are overweight get diabetes, and a lot of people who are pretty thin, they somehow get that affliction, shorten their lifetime. So I hope this will be another one that will help people to live longer, contribute to the society. And so I'm glad to see that the Breakthrough Prize has become popular even just within 2 years. And thanks to Holden and Sudeep for carrying this through. And thank you again for coming. And I wish that Lotte and you will go to higher heights for humanity and for our evolution and for our well-being. Thank you so much.
Stand up here because we're going to take a picture with them. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Let's hear from Annie again, everybody. Yeah, I'm Holden Thorpe. I'm the editor-in-chief of Science, and pretty sure the ambassador to Indiana is Larry Bird. Yeah, we invited him, but he wasn't able to come. So And I did not fly 14 hours from Denmark this morning, but I did watch all 4 seasons of Borgen, which was even longer than 14 hours. Okay, as Sudip said, I have the privilege of figuring out who we're going to recognize after the news team has selected the Breakthrough of the Year. And I always get to put together a committee to do that. No one's ever turned me down to be on the committee. So this year we had everybody that I asked, as Sudip said, Eric Topol and John Buse, and thankfully Catherine Saunders, who's here today, and you're going to hear from her in a second. And we had a great process and came to a unanimous decision about what to do. And so it's always great when it works out that way, and it has both times. All right, so I'm going to read the citation for each of our winners, and I'm not going to make them stand here while I'm reading their citation, which many award winners probably always wish they don't get to do. So I'll read your citation, and then you can come up and get your plaque from Annie. All right, so our first winner is Richard DiMarchi. He is a distinguished professor of chemistry and the Gill Chair in Biomolecular Science at Indiana University, where he previously served as chairman of the chemistry department. He is a member of the National Academy of Medicine and the National Inventors Hall of Fame. He is a former group vice president at Eli Lilly and later at Novo Nordisk, and he is recognized for his contributions to the discovery and development of rDNA-derived Humalog, glucagon, and Forteo. He is a former decade-long chairman of the Peptide Therapeutics Foundation, is widely recognized as an international spokesperson for macromolecular medicines, and holds various international awards and recognitions. Dr. DiMarchi is a co-inventor on more than 100 US patents and co-author of more than 250 peer-reviewed scientific publications. Since 2003, he has co-founded 8 successful biotech companies. DiMarchi transformed thinking about the hormones that GLP-1 drugs should mimic. In particular, his innovative experiments with the hormone glucagon revealed that it can lower body weight, and following chemical optimization with additional hormonal activity, it was advanced as a potential treatment for obesity, making the waves we see today. So we are proud to award the Manny Bhaumik Breakthrough of the Year Award to Richard DiMarchi. You got it? Okay, great. I think you can just have a seat there because yeah.
Oh, yes.
All right. Next, we have Lotte Bjerre Knudsen. She is a Danish national, born in 1964 in a small town near Copenhagen. She holds a degree in biotechnology from the Technical University of Denmark and a doctoral degree in scientific medicine from the University of Copenhagen. Dr. Bjerre Knudsen has been with Novo Nordisk since her university graduation in 1989 and has since then held several positions within the company, and today serves as chief scientific advisor in research and early development. She has deep experience across the entire value chain of drug discovery and development and has published extensively. She is also an inventor on many patents, all of which are fully owned by Novo Nordisk. Specifically in the area of GLP-1 research, Lotte is a co-inventor of liraglutide and has led all biology research programs for liraglutide and semaglutide at Novo Nordisk, from diabetes to obesity, cardiovascular, kidney, and Alzheimer's disease. Dr. Knudsen has represented Novo Nordisk in 5 FDA advisory committees and has received many awards during her career. Most recently, she was honored with the Danish Biotech Lifetime Achievement Award, the Paul Langerhans Award from the German Diabetes Association, and the STAT Biomedical Innovation Award. Please join me in recognizing Lotte Knudsen for the Manny L. Bhaumik Breakthrough of the Year Award. Thanks for being here. People can sit anywhere they want. Yeah. Okay. All right. This time I'd like to welcome to the stage selection committee member, Dr. Catherine Saunders, to participate in our fireside chat with these two winners. I was really grateful that Catherine agreed to serve on our committee. She taught all of us an enormous amount about what it's like to really use these drugs in the clinic and transform the lives of patients. And I've been inspired to hear about all the things that she's been doing. Dr. Saunders is a physician innovator and an internationally recognized expert in obesity medicine. She is also the co-founder of IntelliHealth, a software and clinical services company democratizing access to comprehensive medical obesity care. Dr. Saunders is a diplomat of the American Board of Internal Medicine and the American Board of Obesity Medicine. She also hosts the Weight Matters podcast with her mentor, Lou Aroney, and has authored more than 50 peer-reviewed articles and book chapters. She has been featured in multiple national media outlets, including Bloomberg, Forbes, Politico, and The Atlantic, and is recipient of several awards and recognition, including Brown Brothers Harriman 22 Women to Watch in 2022, Transforming Wellness in 2023, the Health Innovators Top Innovators to Watch in 2023, and New York Super Doctors 2023. Welcome, Catherine, Super Doctor. Thank you for doing this show. Thank you. Yeah, go. Okay, so you pulled it from the bottom, or that's just is it on now? Yes, good. Okay, so we're going to talk a lot about what the award winners have done and how we selected them and what these drugs mean for patients. So I'd like to start with the award winners. This prize is, as Dr. Bhaumik said, always a story of persistence. So we'll start with Lotte and then Richard. What drove you to fight for additional uses for these drugs? And tell us the biggest hurdle you face and how you convinced others to support your efforts.
That's just.
There you go. Use this one and I'll fix it.
All right, I'll use this one. So first of all, thank you very much, and hello everyone. I think what pushed me to go on, right? I think it's in my DNA. I think we heard a little bit about that. You know, I grew up in a small town. My father was very entrepreneurial, so it's kind of in my DNA to always just keep going. And I was very lucky as a young scientist to land in this company where there was room to operate for people who had ideas and wanted to bring them forward. So I think I just landed on the story of GLP-1 really early. It's a beautiful biology, which is relevant for many diseases. And I just thought, you know, I could be the champion of GLP-1 here, not only in diabetes, but in obesity and cardiovascular disease, because the story just keeps on unfolding. It's a beautiful biology that can help a lot of people.
Wonderful. Richard.
Well, first, let me congratulate Lotte and indicate that she was successful at Novo in convincing them to do obesity at a time when I was more influential as an executive at Lilly and unable to convince them to do obesity. So you did what I could not. And I think those who have worked with me know that I'm stubborn and I'd rather switch than fight. So I decided we'll just pursue this elsewhere and took up my life as an academic and starting biotech companies to support this translational research. Largely because you could see that people were treating hypertension, they were treating diabetes, they were treating lipid abnormalities, and often all three of them in the same patient with three different medications when you knew that this excess body weight was promoting each of those diseases. So there had to be something more foundational that we could do to singularly treat all of these. And we've seen what a profound effect we now have in decreasing body weight in a way we have historically decreased glucose, lipids, and blood pressure. It's really a transformational period, and lots of people who have been associated.
Yep, great, thanks. So this next question is for you, Catherine. As Manny said, I wrote in my editorial when we announced the breakthrough that this opened many questions. Some of them are about biochemistry, some of them about neuroscience, some of them about lots of things, including sort of sociology and public health. So explain to us, how you talk about obesity as a disease and how the impact of these drugs has changed the way you do that.
Absolutely. So for many, many years, it was thought that obesity was a result of just eating too much and exercising too little, just a lifestyle problem. We now understand that obesity, as everyone has discussed, is a disease. Not only a disease, but really a complex, heterogeneous, multifactorial chronic disease. So we talk about this with our patients, about how this is not a matter of not having enough willpower. This is not a matter of not trying hard enough. It's actually dysregulated hormonal pathways that have led to weight gain and have made it hard to lose weight. And then on top of all of that, obesity is associated with over 200 weight-related health complications. And so it makes a whole lot more sense to treat obesity, as Richard beautifully said, than treat all of the comorbidities independently. So having these new, highly effective and tolerable and safe medications has completely transformed medicine. If you think about how many people are eligible for these medications, it's about two-thirds to three-quarters of our country. And so this is a huge, huge, huge problem that costs billions and billions of dollars in indirect costs. So having these medications, one, is so gratifying for our patients to understand that, there's clearly dysregulation going on that's so much more than a lifestyle problem, because we have targeted treatment that addresses what has been, what has been off in their bodies, and just giving people hope that they can finally, after years and years and years of losing and gaining and being told to just eat less, exercise more, finally transform their lives. It's very exciting.
Yeah, great. Okay, so Lotte and Richard, I think anybody who sort of looks at this from the outside would understandably conclude that these were drugs that were developed for diabetes and then repurposed for obesity. But you've both impressed on me that that's not really the right story. So Lotte, you want to tell us what really happened?
Yes. So I'll take you back to the 1990s. True, there was a lot of research ongoing about GLP-1 as a potential new treatment for diabetes. But at the same time, actually, there were other groups who were looking into potential effects of GLP-1 that could relate to the effect in the brain. Lots of GLP-1 receptors in the brain. There were in particular two groups that I would like to mention that you also very nicely was put in the article. Sir Stephen Bloom from London and Ole Madsen from Denmark. And they did independent research on these opportunities for GLP-1 to actually reduce energy intake. At first, it was in rats, of course, or mice. And this inspired me to think, I was looking around how, I had colleagues that were pursuing diabetes. I had other colleagues that were pursuing obesity. Why can't I do both at the same time? And that is what we were then doing for 30 years, actually trying to, because it took a long time to get there. But the stories are completely separate. The mechanisms are separate. That's what people really have to understand if they want to understand the potential of GLP-1. They have to understand that it's separate mechanisms. So in diabetes, it's around the pancreas. In obesity, it's mainly about the brain. In cardiovascular disease, it's about the vasculature and the heart. And it was completely separate stories that led me onto, and the company that I work in, Novo Nordisk, that was completely separate how we saw it.
Yeah, Richard, anything to add to that?
Well, we're all a prisoner to our history, and having been part of that initial biosynthesis of human insulin, it was very clear that this increasing demand, this epidemic in diabetes was driven by excess weight. And so if we're going to treat diabetes, why not treat obesity? And I was constantly reminded of the fact that obesity is not a disease. And furthermore, even if it were, people would not take an injection to treat it, how wrong that proved to be. But it was the observational science and having these material, and particularly Professor Suat Efendik at the Karolinska, that did a number of preclinical studies, animal studies, ex vivo, pancreatic perfusions, that agreed to put this into patients. And to me, there is in vitro, in vivo, in veritas, the Latin term for in truth. Until you put it in a patient and show that it actually works, you cannot know whether this is going to be a medicine. And he did that. I did and demonstrated that this was successful. And I knew from that moment that we had to be about this. And then later our work with Matthias Chupp that integrated more than one mechanism of action.
Great. So Catherine, tell us a little bit about what you've seen and how this drug transforms the lives of some of your patients. Tell us some inspirational stories that you get to see every day in the clinic.
So we all in our field love what we do because we're able to take people who've absolutely given up hope and have tried everything, could not lose weight, and then we explain to them that it's a disease. We figure out everything that's contributing, and we come up with a very personalized plan that addresses all of those different factors. When I started in this field, the medicines that were the most effective for obesity were associated with about 5 to at most 10% total body weight loss, which is absolutely clinically significant, but there's a dose response, and helping people lose more weight than that can help further reduce or resolve weight-related comorbidities, further reduce risk of developing others. And so with the development of semaglutide associated with 15% total body weight loss and tirzepatide associated with at least 22%, it has been just absolutely groundbreaking, life-changing, mind-blowing. And to take people who, I'll tell you about one patient I saw yesterday who is an opera singer. He was mowing the lawn and had a heart attack. He was resuscitated and ended up surviving. I then helped him lose 19% of his body weight. And he now, it has reduced his risk of having another heart attack so significantly. It was funny, actually, his wife joined the Zoom yesterday. She was like, I think he's kind of emaciated. I think he's lost too much weight. His body mass index is fine. It's about 20, 26, 27. So he's not emaciated. He's actually slightly in the overweight range. But to be able to do that for someone who's had a near-death experience, and then is for the rest of their lives, worried about having the same thing happen again, to be able to so dramatically reduce their risk is just such an incredible gift to be able to give to people who have obesity and weight-related health complications.
Yep, thank you. So Lotte and Richard, Sudha talked a lot appropriately about the importance of industry in the story and how much it matters to us that you're here representing Novo Nordisk, and Richard has been at Eli Lilly and in academia also. But both of you in your journeys were involved with both industrial and academic research. So tell us a little bit about the collaboration between industry and academia in this story and kind of the importance that you see to it going forward.
Yeah, and thank you for the introductory remark on recognizing the science that goes on in the industry. I've always felt just as much a scientist as people in academia. So I'm actually very proud to represent that today, because we do very complementary science to what is done in academia. But it goes back and forth, I think, so the collaboration is really, really good. Sometimes the understanding of basic biology is obviously more studied in academia, but then it wouldn't actually never make it to the patients if we didn't do the industrial science that went along with that. I have collaborated with some really phenomenal groups in obesity over the years. I'll mention the group in Michigan, Randy Seeley, Martin Myers, right, who's taught me a lot about how things work in the brain. I think some of the studies we have done at Novo Nordisk could just as well have been done in academia. So I think that back and forth where you have your complementary skills is so important and really important in this world, actually, that we all scientists stand united in actually getting the best out of all both fields to help solve problems in the world.
Well, left brain, right brain, right? It takes an organization like Novo, like Lilly, to develop drugs for diseases of this complexity, right? It takes deep pockets, it takes integration. I mean, this is a highly regulated business. You have to prove not just the safety, but also the efficacy in multiple conditions. So congratulations to both of these companies. They've done us a phenomenal service. But the discovery research is something different, right? If people often ask me, how do you teach people to think outside the box? It's easy for those who think outside the box because they live outside the box. And when you force those individuals to live inside the box, that's when the inventive breakthrough thoughts go away. So I look at academics as those who provide that seed, that planting, the corn that grows into the plant that big companies want to harvest. It's just so amusing to me to see how many companies are now interested in obesity. It looks like a bunch of adolescents playing soccer. The ball goes here, everybody goes here, the ball goes here, and the one kid who's left behind looks to be dysfunctional. Those are usually the kids who do the next generation of discovery. So there's a place for each of these, and biotech is that translation between the two.
Okay, terrific. Okay. Now it's on. Yeah, good. Okay, so Catherine, we hear a lot in the news about the ability of patients to access these drugs, and lots of commentary about, whether it's fair and whether it's been priced correctly and all this kind of stuff. But you're actually on the ground trying to help people get access to these drugs. So tell us what it's really like and what you're really doing to get these drugs to the people who need and deserve them.
So we're in kind of a mixed situation right now. It's very exciting. We have incredible, powerful, effective, safe medications, but the barriers to access are tremendous. I'm still one of fewer than 150 fellowship-trained obesity medicine physicians in the entire country. So we need more providers who are trained to handle the complexities of obesity. We need the prices to come down. We need insurance to cover more of these medications. So those are just a few of the barriers. And actually, probably one of the most important is weight bias, stigma, and discrimination, which affect access in so many different ways. So it's hard. The short answer is it's really hard right now. I'm not going to lie. Our clinical team spends hours and hours and hours every day talking to frustrated patients who can't start medications or can't continue their medications. And so we do the best that we can in trying to help them locate supply, transfer them to other medications. It's really tricky right now, but I'm hopeful that, the shortage issues will get better, that prices will come down, that access will improve, and weight bias, stigma, and discrimination will, decrease a little bit. So we are making progress and it's exciting, but we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, Richard.
Yeah, I just feel very passionate about this particular point. A drug is of no use if a patient can't have access to it, right? So we have to find a way to get these drugs to patients. And we all realize the differences in pricing in different countries and what it represents. Somebody has to provide the investment to discover these drugs, and particularly the additional studies that are being done, Alzheimer's disease, osteoarthritis, Parkinson's disease. There has to be an incentive, There hasn't been a revolution that somebody didn't have a purpose to invest to make that happen. And that's what's happening in the life sciences. Here's the point, if we as scientists can tackle these impossible tasks, delivering drugs that people thought were never going to come, then I don't think it's unreasonable for us as scientists to expect the politicians to solve the dilemma of how do we get patients access to these drugs and not kill the incentive to invest in the next generation of these medicines. That seems like an easier problem than the one we're charged to solve.
Yeah. Amen. And you can get the orange line to Capitol Hill right out here at Metro Center. Okay. Lotte, anything to add to that? Anything to add to what they said about this?
I think they covered it.
Okay, good. Eric Topol, who was on the committee with Catherine and me, said one day all of us could be using this class of drugs. So what are you most excited about when it comes to other things that GLP-1s could treat? You can.
All right, so I'll give it a try. Right. So again, I want to mention we'll take it back to the biology. It's all built on GLP-1, this little hormone and neurotransmitter that has so many effects. When we leave here, you'll get some food and drinks. Your GLP-1 will increase. It has a lot of effects in the body, but it has a very, very short-lived effect. And then we've just been a little bit lucky that we can actually transform it into something that's long-acting, and we can still have all of these effects. So what we're seeing now is diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular, kidney. But then there are other hypotheses out there. I have myself spent 10 years trying to put some progress behind Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and we are now in phase 3 clinical development. It's important to say that it's a hypothesis. We are testing around neuroinflammation and its importance in Alzheimer's disease. So I don't know if it's going to work. We'll see, but I think that we will see many more things. When a biology is that fundamental and important on many organs in the human body, of course, we have not understood it fully yet. We've only known about it for approximately 40 years. So I think we're going to see a lot more. And the first big one for me to know is Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Well, people who work with me know that I just stroll through our lab like Sinatra singing "The Best Is Yet to Come." And I believe that. I mean, if you look at Lindbergh landing, crossing the Atlantic in 29 and getting on the moon in 69, that's 40 years. And I think back 40 years, we had animal insulins, we barely had glucose monitoring, we had sulfonylureas, terrible drugs. And now we have substances that virtually cure diabetes without the risk of hypoglycemia, provide cardiovascular benefit, lower body weight. So what else? I think the focus is really on healthy aging, right? How do we minimize these multiple comorbidities that have been associated with life in the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th decades, right? So I don't know how much more we can increase longevity, but healthy living through those late years, I think, is possible. And this is just the beginning of it. I think that this is just one drug demonstrating that you can successfully manage complex diseases of aging that are heavily heterogeneous and get phenomenal outcomes. What's next, right?
Absolutely fascinating. There's still so much we don't know. As an example, some of my patients who are on these medications have zero interest in drinking alcohol, and for other patients, no effect at all. So there's so much that we're still learning about the heterogeneity, the variability. That's just one example. But I hear stories from my patients all the time. Thank you. With all different comorbidities. For example, I have a patient who has a condition called transverse myelitis, and it has never been more under control since she started tirzepatide. So I think there is so much we don't know. The next one that everyone's really excited about is sleep apnea, and there are many, many more indications to come.
Okay, what about better 9-volt batteries for microphones?
Breakthrough next year.
That's next year's breakthrough. All right. Richard, you know, you're a true drug designer. What does this whole story say about what we know about how to fashion small molecules or mid-sized molecules in the case of these peptides for different purposes?
Well, you know that I've been a champion for these large molecules, whether it's peptides, proteins, antibodies, and antisense and the like. And through most of this period, it was at the hands of people asking why I couldn't make a real drug, as if insulin wasn't a miraculous drug. And now looking at the performance here, it's just amazing. But having said that, I've often commented that people don't want to live on a high protein diet. So let's complement it with some small molecules, and the advances in the synthetic complexity, right? And the ability to rationally design these molecules have advanced tremendously, so that we do see the first generation of these oral, not really small molecules. They're a quarter of the size of these peptides, but at least substances that people would have declared were real drugs in the day that they were criticizing what we have done. And it's not an either or phenomena. Why not integrate the best of both worlds to get something that is truly synergistic?
Yeah, and Lotte, for you, what does it say about the importance of starting with basic research? I mean, I think your interest in this really comes from the fundamental chemistry of these molecules.
Yes. So now this is really funny. I would think. Let me get some new batteries. I have lots of energy, but I can't instill it into batteries. So say what say it again.
Yeah. Tell us about how your passion for the underlying biology drove you to the discovery.
Yes. So I was a young scientist there in the 90s, and this GLP-1 biology landed on me. First, I was a young scientist, just a lab rat doing the assays, modernizing things there in the early 90s. And then a lot of things happened, and suddenly I was the only one left that knew anything about this biology. And then I was told by my boss when I came back from maternity leave, actually, you figure this out, you know. And I actually sat by myself for about a couple of months thinking about, you know, what could I do? And I thought a lot about those small molecules that Richard was just talking about, right? Because that was everyone was talking about. We need new small molecules for diabetes. We need new small molecules for obesity. And I was just, you know, why can't it be a biological medicine, right? That's what a lot of other people are doing. And I think I actually have a solution. So I think that was why I kind of came on to this idea of actually pursuing a biological medicine, and then actually also coming up with this idea to use another biology that we all have on how we have this albumin molecule in our blood that is our transporter molecule. So taking like a fatty acid that normally binds to there, putting it together with this peptide medicine. And that was actually what became the first GLP-1 that was approved for obesity. And then it's just an area that keeps on giving. So there are many more ideas we can tackle.
I'm going to go over here now. All right, how's this? Yeah, can you all hear me okay?
I'll move down here, then we can share.
Yeah, there you go. So our time's up, but I just want to thank all three of these amazing people for being with us and for their contribution. So a big thanks to Catherine and for helping us, and to our winners, and especially a big thank you to Manny Bhaumik for his generous support as we close out the second annual Manny Bhaumik Breakthrough of the Year Award. One more round of applause for Manny Bhaumik, everybody. So I can't imagine a more appropriate thing to do than to drink and eat rich snacks. And so we hope all of you will stay and do that with us out in the lobby. And if you'd like, you can get your very own autographed copy of the Science Breakthrough of the Year issues signed by our 2 winners. Thank you all for coming. We'll see you outside, and thanks everybody.